Okay, so we've just completed round one of Africa Youth, and this is the game that you just played. So this is round one of the Africa Youth Chess Championships 2026 at the Imperial Botanical Beach Hotel in Entebbe, Uganda, round one. So you played black this time, and your opponent played white. Your opponent was Kyle Mutumi, he has no rating, and you have a rating of 1463. This is the game that was played. Ignore the N it's meant to mean novelty, but I accidentally used the wrong database when I created the report. So that's why it's showing a novelty here, but it's not really a novelty. The novelty comes much later. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So he played e4 and you played c5, going with our plan of the dragon, which is correct. But anyway, he played knight to f3, you played d6. And here he decided to play bishop to b5. This is a bit of a sideline. But it's not something we didn't discuss, and I'm glad you played the right move. The right move here is precisely to play bishop to d7. You block with the bishop because it's essentially forcing them to trade, and also it doesn't hinder your development. If you played, for example, knight here, although it's a good move, it sort of blocks in the development of your bishop, and you have to play a bit more unnaturally. If you play here, they can trade eventually and damage your pawns. This is the best, most forcing move, right? The engine may say these two are equal, but if on a higher depth, this is slightly better. Anyway, you play this, he does the move of taking, and here I'm glad you did queen takes. You remembered correctly and you played queen takes. This is the right move. Unfortunately, I don't have the times, but you'll remember how much time we spent on each move or whatever. That's another thing I forgot to mention. If you ever spend a lot of time on a specific move or something, just make sure to mention that to me, just so I can also know what kind of thing is going in your mind or what's happening, underneath the scene. Just so I know what's happening underneath. So in this kind of position, traditionally, what happens is they play c4 or c3 d5, that kind of an idea. They play like c4 with the idea of c4 is after you continue your dragon. Now they play knight here, bishop, and then they push d5, d4. This sort of just forces a trade, and just you end up in the same position that you would normally end up in Dragon Sicilian, just that they don't have a light squared bishop, you don't have a light squared bishop. So it's again roughly very similar ideas. They can even here, like just as an example, they can still opt for a Yugoslav. Here it's called the Moscow variation, Sokolsky variation, or whatever. But in all essence, this is essentially a Yugoslav, except they've played c4 and don't have a light squared bishop. It's very similar ideas here. Just to go over something. Castles or rook here, rook here. Oops, that's not an ideal move. Rook here. Again, you just move your rooks to the center. If he trades, you trade. Very similar ideas to what we've had before. That's traditionally how this kind of position is played. Instead, he plays knight c3, and knight c3 is actually a bit of a poor move. The reason it's a bit of a poor move is it blocks the seized pawn, and in the case where there's no light squared bishop, you want your pawns on light squares, because light squared bishops attack what color? Light squares. They attack the white squares. So if you don't have a light squared bishop, your light squares are a bit weaker. So he should have been being a bit more aggressive, playing like something like c4, to take more of this control of the center, and also control the light squares a bit better. But I digress. It's not that terrible move. Knight c3 is not a terrible move. It's okay. Here you played knight f6, which is okay. Again, one of the top 3 moves. You could also have gone for g6, but this is all perfectly fine. Knight f6. Here he should have really gone for d4. He's really meant to strike in the center, and because the idea behind striking in the center is if you decide to take, takes. Again, very similar Dragon Sicilian. You can go back to the Yugoslav in this variation. This kind of variation, one of the reasons why I didn't go too much into it is a lot of the time it just transposes into one of the other variations we talked about. And in a case like this where it doesn't transpose and you play something like d3, you're just better. you have a slight advantage or you've completely equalized, and your position is great. That's one of the nice things about this position. Okay, I'm going to continue from here. Yeah. So yeah, that's why this is okay. Now you play g3. Now in this position he plays d3. This is slightly worse than d4 because d3 is a bit more passive, and the main goal behind d4 is after taking, and now you'd say you continue with your dragon. White has an option to play here, and more than anything else, this knight is more active. When this knight is active, even though it can technically not go to any of these squares yet, in the long run, it's a lot more powerful. And also, if you can't really kick it out, because if you play e5, when you play bishop d7, your bishop is a lot worse. That's why, d3 is, again, it's not a terrible move, but it's just less ideal. Now you play g6, and this is a horrible move. This is the actual novelty. I just fixed it. This is the actual novelty. G3 is just a terrible move because it does nothing. This is a horrible move. The engine may say it's only minus 0.5 right now, but in my opinion, this is like -1 at least, because not only have you completely weakened your king side for no reason at all, you don't have a light square bishop. So now permanently all your light squares are just terrible, and even when you decide to castle, it's just not great. You play the right thing again, bishop g7, knight d5, not a bad move by him, but it's still, why is he attacking when he doesn't have any pieces out? So it's not good for him. Here you played a decent move. You castled, which is the second best move. You could have just taken it straight away, and the reason you're taking is fine is because, well, this pawn is doubled, and now you can play your queen here. If you play your queen here, you can just never castle again. And even if you play something like c4, castles, let's say bishop here, you still win this pawn. And even if he decides to protect that pawn, he doesn't play that, and he plays something like knight here, you will always just have so much pressure just in this kind of position. I'm just going to play a bit of this variation. Boom. You're giving up a pawn, b4. You give up a pawn, and this is a structure. It is terrible. It will never recover. And your bishop is such a king right now. Look at that. It just controls the entire diagonal. And this is the best possible variation you can get at this point, almost. But castling is the second best move, and it's fine. Here, you just again plays a terrible move, and you play bishop g5. Again, you mentioned that he was just blitzing out all of the moves, and you can really tell this is a terrible move. The reason this is a terrible move is it does nothing. You're gonna just trade anyway. You're probably gonna trade next turn. But by him playing here, not only has he not defended the knight, he's also removed the protection of the b pawn, which you aptly take immediately. This is the best move. Rook b1 is the only logical move to protect the rook. So that's forced. You move back. Not a bad move. Honestly, second best move, and to be honest, it's the most human move. I would play this as well. If you wanted to be ultra aggressive, you can go for check, and then after he plays here, you go back. That's another option you can opt for. The reason the engine prefers that is actually just because you decrease the activity of this bishop, but bishop g7 is a great move. No criticism there. Oh, oops, that's a bit far. Let me just get back to here. Yeah. Here he just plays this for no reason. I really don't understand why he just didn't castle. I felt that all of this was leading up to a castle, and if you castles, now you can play something like a6, b5, or, h6, kick out the bishop, and then, b3 even, like knight a6. You can just play slow maneuvering game, like get up these pawns and everything, and, that kind of a game. I assume that's what he should have and could have played, but instead he just goes for rook b3. What's the idea behind this move? Maybe, again, to queen here, put queen here, and then win this pawn, which is what he eventually plays. But it's not a very potent threat, right? This pawn, the reason it's not a threat is because you can always just play b3 eventually, and b6 eventually, and just prevent any attack. So yeah, you play h6, good move. It moves back. Here again, knight a6, good move. He plays queen here. Now, again, this is his whole idea. No, number one, as I said before, you have b6. And the reason the position went to -3 from -2, just from the queen movement, um, is because like after, even if you play b6, he just has nothing. You have all the pressure. You get you can do the pawn breaks, you can take if you want to, but best move is here. If he advances, or let's say he doesn't advance, let's say he takes. If he takes, look at this. He's losing a knight. You just have so much pressure and you're gonna get a pin like this. He just has nothing here after b6, and you play knight, which is a good move. This move is okay. This is the only move I'd say is slightly less ideal. The reason it's less ideal is because if he had decided to castle here now, well, this pawn is still in the threat, and if you defend it by now by playing b3, your knight is just kind of stuck. It doesn't really do much, which is why I'm not a big fan of this move. But again, it's not a blunder; it's a fine move. He plays a terrible move once again. He plays c3. C3, well, this pawn is just hanging. There's nothing else to it. It just hangs the pawn, takes the best move in the position, and he takes this pawn. Now, why is him taking this pawn not a big threat? You can pause here and figure it out. I'll give you 1, 2, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. It's not a big threat because if you move your queen out, and if you just try, it doesn't move, you just have all the pressure in the world. All the pressure in the world. If you play something like this, takes, king here, queen back here, you are dominating this king. This king has nowhere to go. It's a bit stuck. And if he tries and escapes this way, well, again, you bring the knight, and not only are you threatening, like this knight takes here eventually, you've cut off the connection between the queen and rook. So it's just a terrible move. It doesn't really do anything. So you're completely winning here, even though material is almost equal. You take here first, and this is slightly less ideal. The reason it's slightly less ideal is because now, if you'd move his king out of the way, and you'd gone for a check, king here, you just don't have as much of an attack because the king is a bit more safe. There's a lot more pieces on the king, but again, it's not a bad position. All of these positions are great. That's the only reason it's not the best. The reason queen g4 is the best move is because it threatens the knight. The knight has to move, and if the king decides to protect it, well, there's always this. So the king can't really defend this knight. The knight has to escape somewhere, and wherever the knight escapes, you still just take this pawn. And you're threatening here, among other things. So yeah, that's the main reason. Queen g4 slightly better, but bishop takes is completely fine. Plays bishop here, and like you mentioned on call, I mean, playing queen check first would have been slightly better. But again, this is not a bad move. And the reason it's slightly better here is because if he moves out of the way now after takes, again, pressure. You're threatening the queen, and you're threatening the spot, and if he plays here, rook fork. Look at that. So yeah, it's slightly better in this position, but bishop takes is completely fine. And bishop takes again is completely fine, but after this, you find the move check, he defends, and this move wins piece. Queen here, free knight, take then a free knight, plays here to try and get a trade. Here you're up so much material, if you really went for the trade, it would be fine. And you did. So takes, usually with whenever you're up a bit more material, it's always better to trade, as you know. So yeah, trading is completely good in this position. Takes, and takes pawn. So far you've played a perfect game. There's really nothing else to say about it. King d2, rook takes, king takes. This move is labeled interesting. Because it's not a bad move, but just that this move is a lot more powerful after it takes. If he goes here, the fork is a bit earlier. And if he doesn't take, and if he plays something like this, again, this fork. And if he doesn't play there, and if he plays here, you can still force a fork. This fork is inevitable. Rook AF8 is not a bad move. Here it's not a bad move at all, but it's just It's just yeah, the c4 is a bit stronger. Uh, Again, this is oh yeah. Let me just mention this before anything else. It's very easy to say, oh, this move is bad. This move is better with an engine. Okay, when you're playing, you obviously don't have the engine next to you, and all your moves have been very logical moves that make sense. I can see your ideas behind all of them, and they're all good. Just a couple. And whenever I mention that this move is slightly better, I'm not saying it to you know put down what you've been doing. It's just more than anything to just mention like different ideas of how to look at the position. Right here in this position, you can see that um, the king and the king and rook are both completely unprotected, and the king also has no squares. The only squares the king can move to right now is here and here, and in both of these squares, if the king moves to either of those two squares, you know that there's a fork incoming. So this is just that's the only reason rook AF8 is not a bad move, but it's just there's a slightly better option available. Here he plays here, and you find the fork. Um, he only had one move here. Like as you can see, okay. All of these are forced mates. If you look at them on a high enough depth, there's a forced mate in all these positions. Mate in 12. No human is seeing mate in 12 here. So you were right. There is a forced mate here. With this, the forced mate being now here you the take the rook, king c8, knight e5, king c7, rook b2, rook e1, c4, g3, and then you just like queen. So it's the same idea. It's the same thing that you eventually did, just slightly faster. It makes no real difference. Yeah. Instead of taking it, you play rook b2. Again, not a bad move, but it's just you could have just taken the free rook. It's completely okay. But in this position, you're so far ahead, it doesn't matter. So you just place here, you take, takes, and yeah, there's nothing else to say about the rest of the game. You traded off the final rook. He has no hope left. You queen the final pawn, and this is forced mate in 2, mate in 1, and checkmate. So, any takeaways from this game? Well, the first and most important takeaway is you belong here and you can win games. You're currently 1 out of 1, which is pretty good. Next game will be a bit tougher because you're likely to play a rated player. But again, that's not really something you should worry about. Like you are a rated player yourself, so it's not something you should really think about too much. But it's just you need to realize that the next opponent will know principles. This opponent clearly lacked a lot of principles about how to play the game, and that was evident in how he played. Your next opponent will likely not have that. You will not have this easy of a time, and you should spend your time wisely, like you did this time as well. You didn't make any one move blunders. You made very good key tactical ideas throughout, and yeah, just keep playing the way you're playing. Honestly, don't if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I'm just gonna switch to this next tab here with chess results. Sorry, just give me a minute. Yeah, so this is the chess results page. This is how this is your fixture. You are on board 30, and if we reload the page, yeah, okay, this is it. Unfortunately, as I'm recording this, there's still no round 2, and they're still not giving out the pairings, and they're not giving out the secondary standings after round 1. We can speculate, but it really depends on how your opponents did. And if we look at like the starting list, over here, you were ranked 30th. If this opponent, Joseph Wambua, wins, you both have the exact same rating. There's a decent chance you play him. So I'll just look at these opponents near you, but again, I can't promise anything because we don't know who it is going to be, right? And another thing, you have 2 matches tomorrow. You have 2 matches to play tomorrow, and the thing about playing 2 matches is you have to. Yeah, sorry, just fixing my camera. One of the things you have to realize is that you're playing 2 matches tomorrow. And whenever you play two matches, it's gonna be a bit of a mental strain, as always, right? It's always a bit of a mental strain when you play two matches. Um, Important thing is generally take some rest. Like immediately after your game, you don't have to just go and run to the computer and be like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Um, you can just chill for a bit. If especially if you can send me a clear PGN of the thing, I can analyze it, make a video, and then just upload it, and then you can just watch it, like chill. Um, Again, most important thing is just don't overexert yourself. You gotta be consistent. It's a marathon, not a sprint. 8 more rounds to go. We're currently 1 for 1, and we gotta maintain that form hopefully. And the way we maintain that is just being consistent over anything else. Consistency is king. You need to just be a bit relaxed as you are, and just keep playing the way you're playing. Uh, I can't wait for round two. Can't wait to see what you play with white, and see you then.